G'day and welcome to the Grow a Small Business Podcast. I'm your host, Troy Trewin. Each week, we speak with an owner who has grown a business with 5 to 30 team members to something bigger. Diving into their numbers and unearthing the pain they've experienced, we explore what they did to overcome each barrier and what they would do differently from day one. Let's get into it. Welcome everyone to the inaugural Grow a Small Business Podcast. My name's Troy Trewin. I'm the founder of the Grow a Small Business community. And today I'm here in sunny Launceston in northern Tasmania in Australia with a very good friend of mine, Matthew Will, otherwise known as Mauser. And we're going to have a bit of a chat about the upcoming launch of Grow a Small Business, the new website, and a few other resources that we've got there. So welcome, Matthew.
Thanks, Troy. It's a pleasure to be here.
Great. Now, do you want to maybe ask me a few questions?
Yeah, happy to, Troy. Happy to be here on one of these first podcasts with you and sort of see the direction you're heading in with this new business, which I think is really exciting. I've had a bit of an insight into it, and it's an honour to be here interviewing you to sort of tell us about what is going on.
Yeah, well, thank you. You've been involved in the advisory group for the last few months, testing out the daily emails and the course content that I've been writing, so thank you for your time.
Do you want me to fire away then? I'll start off with a few questions for you, Troy. And I've got a bit of an insight into what you're doing here, so thought I'd ask first, why you are launching the Grow a Small Business community? What's sort of behind it all?
Yeah, it's a great question, and as I write about, it's one of the first, or that is the first thing I start with in any new project or business, is answering that why question. And the Simon Sinek video of 15 or so years ago, I think, one of the most popular TED Talks ever viewed, it was really eye-opening for me, just changed my thinking about a lot of things. So really getting that purpose down and very clear to yourself before you jump into anything that's going to consume a lot of your time and resources, because, as we know, time is our most precious resource. It's non-renewable. So the reason why I started the community is to help other small business owners. I've had now just over 20 years experience starting, running, growing, selling, shutting down small businesses, between 5 and 30 staff. I've managed businesses around the 30 staff mark that I didn't have equity in, that weren't mine, and I've got a lot of my own businesses. So I think, because I get hit up a lot, people ask me for advice because they know that's what I've done for the last 2 decades. And even when I'm out networking, I get a lot of people. We stumble upon conversations and, I give my 2 cents. So the reason I'm really starting this and getting this content and material out there is to be able to help a lot more people, rather than just having that one-on-one time all the time, and out networking, etc. I can put my thoughts down and my experiences and the tools that I've used to grow my businesses and help others, put them into one place and be able to reach a lot more people, and especially around the world, just outside of Tasmania as well.
And I guess that sort of leads into my next question, which was, how did the idea for Grow a Small Business come about? It would be part of setting up those businesses and running those businesses over the last 20 years. Would that be correct? Yeah,
it was coming up to 10 years ago, actually, next month. I moved back from London. I moved over there 3 years earlier, bought into a small IT support company there, Lucidica, still going and growing very well. So I bought in, we had 2 business partners, so 2 senior engineers, and they were very much, the technicians from the E-Myth 3 roles, entrepreneur, manager and technician, just doing all the billable work, running around, bumping into each other, falling over. And I saw a great opportunity, 2 very smart guys, and I wanted to grow that business very fast. Coming from a professional services background, I had 3 years at PricewaterhouseCoopers straight out of university, so I knew the professional services model, selling time, and I could see what we could do there in London. So after about 9 months, I asked one of the business partners to step out of the business. He's got ADHD, so he wasn't able to fill out a timesheet.
Yep.
And we spoke about it. We worked on it together. We tried everything we could to try and get him to fill out these timesheets. And it's just, he's not wired that way. It's just not innate. It's a known thing. And I said, he's a great engineer, a great technician, IT person. And I said to him that stay in IT, just find a job where you don't need to fill out a timesheet. And that's what he went on. Often did. We're still good friends and catch up whenever I'm in London. And the other business partner and I then started the main reason I said to that exiting business partner was because we're about to start piling on the juniors into the business, because that's where professional services firms make all their money, is leveraging junior roles. And we can't stand up, the three of us can't stand up in front of them and say, you need to fill out your timesheet, it's really important, when one of the three of us can't do that. So that was an interesting time. And we went on to grow that business in 3 years, Tom and I, to around 20 staff. We also had a social enterprise we started on the side there as part of that. And then I, about 10 years ago, moved back to Australia. But on the way back, I had 2 weeks in Thailand just to decompress from London. It's a pretty full-on city. I love my time over there. And I had a good amount of time to think. So sitting on the beach for a couple of weeks is when actually I came up with the idea of grow a small business. So I Googled around, found that the .com was actually available. I couldn't believe it, so registered it. And over those couple of weeks wrote, nearly 40 blog posts and put the website up. Got back to Australia and pretty much didn't touch it. Got busy, moved down to Tasmania, and but the intention there was to get more of my ideas and experience out to more people via a blog.
Was that more of a hobby to start with, like just something, a little passion project, or did you foresee it being a business?
No, that's a really good question. At the time, I wasn't looking at commercialising. It was just because, as I said, I get hit up for advice a lot, and I felt it was easier for me to document or put into words a lot more of my detailed thoughts on topics that I kept being asked over and over. So then I could say, look, I've written a blog post on this. I'll send it through to you, tomorrow. But here's the crux of my thoughts. But in the blog post is links through to tools and other articles that I think you should read to really bed down that change in thought or implement a change in your business.
That's a great idea too. Just when you're getting asked the same question by various people, to have a place to point them to. And
yeah, and I did use that over those 10 years. Sent the links through to people. I did find it quite helpful. Yeah, but at no point that back in the 10 years ago did I think that I'd be doing what I'm doing now, which is pivoting and looking to launch a lot more content and these courses as well.
Then on that note, in terms of content, what will the content and the community you're going to grow, what will that entail in terms of, you're going to have, obviously would have a website, but will you, have things, you can have this podcast. What else does it sort of entail?
Yeah, the first step is relaunching the website. As you can imagine, a 10-year-old website looks pretty shitty. So we're about to relaunch that at the moment. Along with that will be the discipline of a weekly blog post going up, rather than having to wait until I'm sitting on a beach in Thailand again or Bali. The weekly podcast, as you're hearing, this is the first one. So I'm really excited about the weekly podcast, keeping it to 20 to 30 minutes each episode. I've been listening to some really good examples out there that I've taken a lot of ideas and thoughts from. And just what excites me is hearing, we've already recorded a couple this morning, yourself and Charles, is just hearing the stories of other people's journeys and their advice, because obviously they're going to be very different to my own. And I think that's quite valuable. And that's what I've found listening to other podcasts. I listen to a lot of podcasts on SaaS businesses or online course businesses, etc. And I can really tell the difference between podcasts these days and not such a good one.
And just define SaaS for the listeners who might not know it.
Software as a service, so it's like the Xero bookkeeping, accounting software, for example, lives in the cloud. It's not on your laptop. You pay a monthly subscription fee. Yeah. We've also got the weekly leadership email, which I'll be sending out Fridays, and that is focusing on the small business owner working in the business. So summing up my thoughts for the week or great resources I've come across, articles, podcasts, other blog posts, etc. And just, getting key points across about leadership, because I know full well what it's like to grow a small business, either on my own or with other business partners. I know the issues amongst that leadership group. If you've got other business partners, managing a team, developing a management team and getting them to be effective. I've seen a lot in the last 20 years, so I'm really excited to be able to share those insights and thoughts across those mediums, the website, the blog, the podcast, and the leadership email.
And I guess that sort of begs the question, why not just continue doing this mentoring and consulting that you were doing before as opposed to launching what could potentially be, a massive online community?
Yeah, I think it comes back to that why question, why I'm doing this, and that is to help small business owners avoid some of the pain that I've experienced, and the people that I've mentored as well, that I've heard of. And I guess the key answer to that is to help a lot more people than I can do just in person. So, I still do a bit of one-on-one coaching and consulting with some fast-growing businesses around Australia, distilleries and breweries and a couple of tech companies. But it is really crystallising the key points of what makes a small business grow and with less stress, and getting that out there to a lot more.
And out of interest, how have these people so far that you consult to found you? How have they discovered your service?
Well, all of them have been through my network over the years, getting to know people, I guess, having a bit of a trusted brand, that people who have seen what I've done in the spaces I've worked in, whether it's tech or distilleries or breweries or even just small businesses. So I haven't really done any marketing to be able to find these exciting clients that I'm working with currently. And yeah.
It's just been organic.
Yes. Yeah.
Find it hard to define a clear strategy, then communicate it and execute it alongside the rest of your team? Or you currently don't work a simple quarterly strategic plan to boost your team's performance? Our Business Growth Formula online course is perfect for small business owners with 5 to 30 team members wanting to grow. We share the mindsets, habits and tools to be a legendary leader in your business. growasmallbusiness.com.
Okay, well, that sounds fantastic. I'm really excited about the course. I think it's going to, just having been one of the test subjects so far, the weekly and daily emails, it's been really, really insightful and helpful. And there have been some fantastic tools along the way as well, which I've learnt an absolute plethora of stuff from you, Troy. So thank you very much for that. And I think you've got some great systems in place. You've converted me to Google Drive and G Suite, and a dedicated Mac user. I'm now using Google Drive on everything as opposed to the iCloud Drive. It's just far superior. So thank you for that. And anything else you want to add before we head off?
Well, I guess the writing the 3 courses over the last 6 months in particular has been a real mind bender, because when I started on the journey, I'd already written really one of the courses, which was the Effective Team Member course I wrote early 2018. Pretty much just going to my local cafe for an hour a day, and I wrote 20,000 words within a month or so, because obviously I knew what I wanted to say and I just needed to type fast. So, and then this year, mid-year this year, when I went to Bali for a couple of weeks, I guess there's a bit of a beach theme coming here, but just sitting, lazing about, thinking about what I wanted to do next, what next chapter, and that's when I thought of relaunching the Grow a Small Business website and adding a community to it, and another 2 levels to a course, when I was actually laying there thinking, how can I be most impactful and help business owners? And that is from the top down, the business growth framework, which is targeted at the small business owner, the leader of the business. I believe there's one leader, one head cheese, one head honcho that needs to be setting the culture and the tone of the business, the rhythm, setting the example. And the second course that I dreamed up on the lounge bed in Bali was what I've titled the Kick-Ass Manager course. And this is one area in particular that I think is really lacking in training material out there, is how do you manage people really well, effectively. There's a great podcast that I've been following for 14 or 15 years, and I'm good friends with Mark, one of the founders, Mark Horseman, who comes to Tasmania here every year or so to play some golf with us, and watching their podcast and the audience that they've been able to help really has inspired me. So the Kick-Ass Manager course leans a lot on their content, doesn't regurgitate it or repeat it. It points to the best podcasts that they've got, because they've got 15 years of a weekly podcast is a shit ton of casts, and also their audience is often big business, big corporates, Fortune 500 kind of companies. That's their background, and that's fine, but a lot of their messages and learnings are applicable to small businesses. So I've done with all the content that I point to in all the 3 courses, I've garnered what I think is the best example of something, like in the managers, for example, and point to other resources. So I find that has been a real challenge, writing those 3 courses, getting the content into which of those 3 courses is most relevant, and then finding the right pace, particularly with the daily emails. So they're coming out every day, first thing in the morning, to say, here's a key message or theme that I want you to think about today. There's some growth actions here. So there's 1, 2, 3 or 4 things you have to do. Either read a part of the course today, go and listen to this podcast, implement this one tool today. It might be the quarterly anonymous team survey, for example, and you click through an article and gives you the template and then how to do it. And then at the bottom of the daily email for that course is what your professional development is. What's 10 pages of a book that you should be reading or listening to for this course. So really curating the best thought leaders out there, their content, whether it's books or podcasts, and putting them on the path, on each of the path of these courses. I've been really excited writing all this and pulling all this together, and I'm keen to see how it flies.
Yeah, and I think all the content you recommend reading and listening to during the course is invaluable, and I recommend just going out and getting all those books and getting involved in it straight away, because there's some great reads in there, some of my favourites, and again, thank you for pointing me in the direction of all those.
No worries. Great.
All right then, Troy. Well, I'm excited about this. I'm looking forward to the weekly podcast. It's getting added to my podcast list. I know that for sure. And when I'm out mowing the lawns or driving the kids to school or something, I'll be listening to the Grow a Small Business podcast. So congratulations on the new venture, and I look forward to talking to you again down the track.
Great. Thanks,
Right.
Melba.
See you, mate.
Bye.